Hey everybody, it's Julie. Welcome to Hello Monday. Today I'm going to be making cards with some stamps by Honeybee Stamps. This particular set is called Hello Gorgeous from their latest release, and it has some really interesting woodsy elements in it, like tree rings and some floral sprays with like wildflowers and roses. It also has some really neat greetings that you can combine together in different sizes and also different font work types that'll just provide a lot of variety depending on the types of cards you're making. You can also go masculine or feminine with this particular stamp set. And I was, pondering what did I want to do with this set, and for some reason my mojo was saying, "Ooh, go rustic elegant with this. It'll be perfect." And so that's what I'm going to do, because when your mojo says go this direction, you don't argue, you just roll with it, right? So that's what I'm going to be doing. I started out with a really soft pink cardstock. This is by Basil. This is their card shop line, and it's a rose color that I absolutely love because it's such a soft, pale pink, kind of a shell pink. And it works beautifully with Pixie Pigment Ink by Avery L. I wanted to create kind of a monotone or tone on tone effect. So these are going to combine really well. And I didn't want to have a completely filled in background, but I did create kind of a visual triangle there by the way I stamped my little clusters of those tree rings. And then once the card front was dry, completely dry, I did take my anti-static pouch and pounce the surface of the front because I want to make sure there's no moisture or oil from my fingertips or residual Versamark ink on the surface of the card front, because I only want the gold embossing powder I'm using here to stick to where I stamped the word thanks. So I'm going to go ahead and heat emboss that. I'm working with Hero Arts gold embossing powder. I love the happy bright gold of this particular embossing powder. And once I have that done, I'm going to go ahead and fold my card and crease the fold line. And I like to put it face down on some scratch paper there and use my Teflon bone folder because it doesn't leave a shine on the paper. And then once I was finished with that, I decided I wanted just a little bit more of that elegant effect on my rustic card there. So I have some leftover foil, iCraft Deco foil from a previous project. So I went ahead and grabbed my Be Creative tape in a 1/2 inch width and laid a bead of that down there on the edge of my card front. And then I'm going to take that strip of foil and burnish it down. And you notice the pretty gold side is up, and that's you want to make sure when you're using this type of foil that the pretty side is always up. And I burnished that down against the tape with the pads of my fingers, and it was so shiny and glossy, and I kind of sat there looking at it and going, I'm not sure if I really want it quite that shiny. That's very modern looking, but how can we tone it down? So I decided to knock it down by taking my scratch paper here and putting that over the top of the foil there on the tape, and then using my bone folder to continue burnishing and rubbing across the scratch paper there. And you'll see that it knocks down the shine and gives it a whole different effect. It just kind of reminded me of what metallic leather would look like, if there it really is such a thing as metallic leather. And I loved the end result. And then I got excited and I had another idea for another card, so I'm going to share it here. I took another floral spray in that set, and I'm using Silver Fox pigment ink by Avery L again to create this full-on background. I decided this one I was going to fill it all up, and I'm working with Nina Solar White. And I started at one end and then built all the images and kind of nestled them in tight to each other to create a full background image on my card front. And here you can see the end result much better. It was really hard to catch this on the video camera because it is such a delicate color of ink, but in real life it shows up just marvelously, and it's such a beautiful effect. So now to create the focal point, I'm going to take some Essentials by Ellen vellum cardstock, and I cut it down to create kind of a tag size. And I grabbed another one of the images that has twigs and flowers in it from the same stamp set, and I'm going to ink that up with Versamark. And you'll notice I did prep the surface of that vellum again with my anti-static pouch just to make sure I get a nice clean embossed effect. And whenever I do black embossing, I like to use black pigment ink and ink up the stamp that way, and then pour clear powder over the top. And the reason I do that is I always have bad luck with black embossing powder. I don't know why. I love the look, but I can never get it to look nice and clean. And so I finally switched to using just black pigment ink and clear powder over the top, and that seems to work really well for me. So now I'm going to go ahead and put that in my little shoebox lid, and I did preheat my heat gun for about 30 seconds, and then I can quickly emboss that and just make sure there are no grainy spots left and everything is heated and melted and nice and high gloss shiny on the vellum there. And then I decided, because I was kind of winging it about what color I was going to choose for the sentiment, I grabbed the word high from the stamp set, and I'm going to go ahead and put that, nestle that there in between those twigs that are coming up. And you'll see why in a second here. I love the play on words. I did not get a complete impression because this is a more solid type image on the vellum. So to remedy that and make sure I've got full coverage, I'm just going to grab my Versa marker, which has Versamark ink in it. It's an embossing pen. It's a very useful tool, and I'm so glad I had it handy. And I just filled in those little spots that didn't quite impress firmly all the way onto the vellum, because sometimes when you use a solid stamp, you get a little bit of an air pocket there between the paper surface and the stamp. So I just touched it up there a little bit. So then when I went to emboss it and put the gold embossing powder on it, I had a very complete crisp emboss all the way around. Now I'm going to layer this onto a piece of white cardstock, and that's just to give it more substance behind it so that the background on the card front doesn't compete with the details of the images that's on the vellum. And I also like the way it looks. It almost looks like porcelain. It's kind of hard to describe. It almost looks like porcelain when you layer the vellum like that over the top of the white cardstock. And I'm just going to secure them together with cord. I trimmed them down together on my Fiskars trimmer because I decided that aesthetically the tag was going to be a little too long or too tall, and I needed to shorten it up there a little bit for my layout so that everything would have a bit more balance. And then I already white embossed the rest of this greeting. It says, "My dear," D-E-E-R. Yeah, and can you see the deer's antlers on that image? I know I've turned it upside down right now because I need to mark the center of the top there where I'm going to put my hole punch. But I love that play on words and how it went with the imagery in the stamp set. So now I'm going to go ahead and punch through both those layers at the same time. No other adhesive is going to be needed to secure that vellum layer to that piece of white cardstock. Because the twine sometimes comes untied on me when I'm working alone in my studio and I don't have anybody else to put their pinky down, I'll grab my EK Success tweezers. These are cross-lock or reverse action tweezers that actually clamp when you let go. And then when you need to release them, you have to squeeze them to get them to release. But it really helps when I'm tying twine and want to get a nice tight bow there on the center. After I trim the ends off, I'm going to go ahead and mount this with some foam mounting tape. Just put a couple little pieces there. Made sure I got some in the center so I don't have any saggage, because I hate saggage. And then I'm going to peel off those liners with my angled tweezers. So I have two sets of tweezers that I just swear by. I use them all the time, interchangeably. And once I get that mounted, and there you can see the antlers. Now I've got it right side up and you can see the whole effect there. And then I'll get my little banner here that I've already fishtail trimmed. And I put some foam tape on the back of that so I could pop it up to on top of the vellum piece there. And I thought it turned out so cool, very rustic. These images would be really cool if you wanted to color them in with your Copic markers or watercolors, but I thought it was really fun to go a whole different direction with them and take on this rustic, elegant look. We have more still shots available at the Classroom blog, and all the supplies are available at ellenhutson.com. Thanks for watching.